hit the wrong button for anyone out there watching. I don't know if anyone's even here. Sorry, I got a Stream Deck. Oh, shit, I got to mute that. Got a Stream Deck so I can speed things up, and I have one button which presses start, which starts my normal sequence of scenes in the app I use to do these. Then another one went ahead, start stream, and I need to change the labels because I pressed the wrong button. I pressed start, which is not starting the live stream, as opposed to start live stream, which is what I meant to press. So I'll get better at this. At least the one which starts the live stream also ends the live stream later. Now it says finish, so I'm not going to press the wrong one by mistake next time. I'm just going to make noise until anyone gets here. Hey, Brett, thanks for joining. Hey, Brett. Hey, Sebastian. One of the things I want to check once I get a few more people here is, hey, Matthew and George and Andy and Rob. Andy, I got your text. It'll go out, but it's rainy today. I'm not going to the post office in the rain. All right, enough people here. I can get started. No offense to the very early joiners. So on the last couple live streams, I've had a lot of weird issues where it's tricky using the gate, because if I don't use the gate, let me turn off the guitar mic real quick and turn off the gate, which I do have a button for here. So the only mic that's live is this one, and I play guitar. That's a deluxe reverb on 3, 8 feet over there. It's too loud for the SM57, which is set for my vocal levels. So I have no control over what the guitar level is. It'll clip, and it'll sound far away, and it'll have a lot of room sound. Whereas if I turn the gate back on, and I use the close mic, in this case a Royer, on the amp, now whenever this makes a sound over a certain level, it mutes this, so I can do this. That should not be clipping, and because I don't have the compression, the trail of the reverb should sound much more normal. The reverb on the amp is set pretty low. Voice sounds a little overdriven. It should not. Let me know if you're hearing the voice sounding weird out there. But the issues I was having in the past couple streams with this setup was that any noise on the guitar like that would would mute my voice, and so words dropped out. All right, my vocals sound hot and clipping. How's that? Just backing off from the mic, because I have no super chats necessary, Alan. I don't always stay on the mic because I'm I like to move around, and if I get in close, it'll get louder, and if I get back here, I've got the compression dialed in on the voice so that I can move around a little bit and having it kind of balanced. This is how I normally do it. I don't usually do the podcast or radio thing. And if I'm putting the guitar down and coming closer to you guys, I move the mic farther back. So I'm always staying, about 8 inches away. But if I get on there, I can do the FM DJ stuff. Yeah, Ramalama Ding Dong, I need the gate. As I showed a little bit earlier, if I play without the gate, especially if both mics are picking up the guitar, then it gets clippy nastiness because the amplifier is louder than my voice. But when I play, I have a pretty good balance because I've been testing it on and off this afternoon. So that as long as I remember to stop playing and wait just a little bit, and then I speak, then it doesn't seem to be cutting in and out. But Sebastian, this is a deluxe reverb on 3, and without the gate, with just the one mic, it's too much for this. And sometimes I want to demonstrate a much louder amp to you guys. Even if I keep the volume manageable in the room, it would mean that to get the guitar not to sound terrible from this, I'd be sounding like this. And there's lots of channels out there you've heard that. So let me show you what I'm doing. For those of you who are interested, and I want to check something first, because I know that I have the level good between this 335 and the voice. I want to switch to a Strat, which has a lot less output, and see if I need to bring the mic pre-up to maintain a good balance, or whether you guys will be able to hear, yeah, it's cleaner. The amp is cleaner with a Strat than a 335, which is how it's supposed to be. And hopefully with the compression I have on the guitar, it'll still be okay without changing levels as I switch instruments. Hopefully this is still in tune. The weather's been changing every couple hours. Now out there, does this guitar sound a lot quieter? I mean, it should be quieter than 335. That's the entire point of having different pickups. But in terms of broadcasting to you guys, should I turn the mic pre up just a hair on the Strat and do this? See, that's stuff I need to know. And I can figure out later, all right, I want a 4 dB increase in the levels going out into the world when I use this versus a 335 or the SG, or even probably the Casino with the P90s. You'll still hear the difference in the amp response, but it's the old trick of playback stuff. A touch higher even. Okay, I can go a touch higher. Let me make sure I'm not going to be clipping if I go a touch higher. The trouble is my clipping indicator doesn't show the result of the gate. So I can get false clipping readings from my stuff. Let's try this with the mic pre-up about 1 o'clock on the Strat. The other thing I can do is, instead of turning the mic pre up, I can leave the mic pre alone, and I could bring the gain of the channel up. Let's bring that up 3 dB and see how that compares to what you just heard. Seems a little too loud, a little bit clipped on the downstroke. Let me take that down to 1.5 dB. It's tricky, and I can't hear this in real time like you guys can. I have to hear it after the fact, which is why I wanted you guys to tell me in real time, pretty much. You know, I think it's about an 8-second delay. All right, so the mic pre seems to be faster than the channel volume, even though they're kind of different ways of doing the same thing. Let's just do the mic pre up about there. How's this? How's the relative level with my voice when I do that? It's real easy, ironically, to have the voice much louder than guitars because the guitar has such a huge dynamic range that if I set it so the peaks never clip, the average stuff is so far down beneath the peaks that it sounds quiet in comparison. I'll show you the things I've done to try to balance this out. I won't know until playback where we're at. So let me show you what I've been doing, and then we'll play around with trying to get the acoustic balance at all. I've got an acoustic guitar I want to add to the mix at some point. Yes, allow. Thank you. That's what I wanted it to do. And not just allow. I want you to allow this. All right. So Logic Pro over here, I have on the guitar. Let me mute the guitar. I'll do the voice first. So the voice is just an SM57 going into Mo2 M2. And from there, I've got a gate. And that gate, let me turn the guitar back on, I guess. The gate, actually, I can do it with the guitar muted and everything. Watch that open close or just hear my voice cut out when I play the guitar. That's the gate, and it's being triggered here by input 2, which is, of course, the guitar, which means that even if the channel is not armed and it's muted here in Logic, it's still active on my voice. So the way I do it is I've got the gate button on this thing, and I can turn it off when I want to put the guitar down and not worry about that. But it's a frustrating thing to me that it's the only sidechain input which works for a live stream is the input 2. If I change it to the audio and choose audio track 13, it doesn't work at all because there is no audio on channel 13 because I've not recorded any audio there. This is just monitoring the live stuff. But anyway, that's what turns this channel, this mic off, essentially, when I am playing. And I think I've got the attack and release and all that dialed in now. Then I'm doing an expander. Because before I listened back to last Saturday and I was so many, all the breathing was so exaggerated by the compressor, which is necessary so I can move back and around like this, but I was sounding asthmatic. So I've put in this expander just to handle the low-level stuff. Pushes the low-level stuff down farther. After that, I have this thing called Clarity VX, which removes all the room sound, and it's nice if I want to sound like on an NPR and I'm in a treated space, but it's really terrible for use with acoustic guitar, as I discovered much to my horror on listening back last Saturday. So in general, I'm going to try to go without that unless I have a really hissy amp on the bench. Then I've got a channel EQ, and as you can see, I'm not doing much. I am dumping below 94.5 hertz. I'm bringing down a little bit, 2.3 dB around 610, which is a boxy area in the room. It's a boxy area in my voice with the SM57. And I'm bringing up 1.9K up about 2.5 dB just for some more clarity. My voice sounds like I'm speaking on a PA system in a large room. You should not have any reverb or anything. I'm not sure what you're describing. Then I have the compressor, and I'm using the vintage VCA here, and about a 2.6, I guess not about, 2.6 to 1. Threshold is down at negative 22. It doesn't kick in very often, but you can see right there, if I lean in, if I get in there, it does compress. But back here, it's not doing much unless I speak really loudly for a transient or if there's a clap or something in the room. And I've got about 5 dB of makeup gain. And then I've got a limiter, and I've got it set to negative 1 dB there. And then I've got a better limiter here, which gives me 8 dB of gain, which is one of the reasons here I can move around and you hear it. Look ahead is fantastic. And again, the output level is limited to negative 1. And you can see on the reduction here that it doesn't reduce very much, very often. But when it's necessary, if I really get in there, you'll hear that. But most of the time, you won't hear that because I'm back here. And so it's just a way of getting a consistent, loud voice in a live stream without it sounding like I'm just doing 10-to-1 compression or a crazy peak limiter thing. Then on the guitar, just 1 second. On the guitar, I have the Royer R10 going into the Motu M2. I've got a Shep 73 plugin here with about 3 dB of preamp gain. The high, mid, and low EQ modules are out. They're not engaged at all. The high-pass filter here is at 80, I think. It's really hard to read. Just to take the really low-end stuff out. That most people are listening on their phones or whatever, they're not going to have that anyway, but it's just nice to know that the stuff an octave below the low E string is not there. Thank you very much, George. I've been really working hard on this, and that's why I try to do this. I did about 3 hours of testing and tweaking, and now I'm ready for real-time feedback. I just, if I'm going to tell people about audio and guitars and sound, I need to kind of sound good, maybe, even if I don't have chops. But I think I can say that I can make a guitar sound nice. So the Sheps is just giving a little bit of what you want in a nice analog old mic pre. It just adds a little bit of saturation, just the tiniest bit, which is exciting to our ears without sounding like exciting. Then on the compressor, on the guitar, I am at 2.9 to 1, threshold of negative 22, makeup gain 3 dB. The attack is kind of fast, 13 milliseconds. The release is pretty fast, 14 milliseconds. Don't have the limiter engaged, not using the auto gain or anything. And that's just a way of making the peaks not that much louder than the average thing I'm playing. So as compression goes, this is pretty close to invisible. If I turn it off, then on, I can hear it because I know what to listen for with compression, but I don't think it makes what I'm playing through be a lie. I think it still sounds like a deluxe reverb with a Strat. And then I've got a limiter there. No gain this time, just so that the peaks cannot exceed negative 1 dB. So I won't have any digital clipping, because that sounds like a bad thing. And then for amps which don't have reverb, you see here, bus 1, I am going into an Abbey Road plate from Waves. This is one I tweaked called Big Warm Guitar. And if I turn the amp reverb off and I unmute that bus, I don't hear any reverb here because I'm not monitoring through the speakers. I'm just hearing the amp in the room. But if I'm playing an amp that does not have reverb, most people are used to hearing a little bit of reverb on an amp, and it sounds weird to them. And so I have the option to add that little bit of reverb just to make people feel like it's a little more what they're used to. See you, Rob. Thanks for coming in with us. So I don't use this Abbey Road plate very often, but if I plug into that 58 basement over there, most people aren't used to hearing that stuff without reverb. all that yellow Ledbetter kind of stuff. They're used to hearing that little bit of reverb, and that just does a nice job. Thanks, Joe McCraw. All right. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of sound bars. They're always trying to make things sound really exciting, which is usually not a good thing. So let me switch back over so you're seeing me. I guess you've just been seeing this stuff this whole time, but it's all right. Behind the scenes stuff is important, I think. Let me switch over and move that Royer over here. We're going to try setting up the Royer as a mic on the acoustic, and I'll tell you why I'm using the Royer in just a minute. Guitar stands versus speaker mic cables. The struggle is real. When it comes to using a mic for an acoustic instrument, just one second. When it comes to using a microphone for an acoustic instrument, the most common options are a large or small diaphragm condenser. I am temporarily without a large diaphragm condenser, and my small diaphragm condenser is semi-permanently installed over the bench to be my voice mic for when I am working on amplifiers. But a ribbon mic, which is a figure 8, is a very old but good sounding traditional choice for this. And if you use the rear of the Royer, it doesn't have the same windscreen, so you don't want to speak into it. You could damage it, but it has a little more high frequency sensitivity. So this should sound really good if I can get enough level out of the mic pre. Maybe I'll get another small diaphragm condenser at some point, or a large diaphragm, because I like having them. They look cool as hell. But for right now, I'm going to try aiming the less windscreened side of the Royer at the body junction here at the 14th fret. I'm about a hand distance away. It's about 9 inches, I guess. Yeah, I have compression on, but I know that if I'm over there, you're not going to hear it. Over here, it should be pretty good. Hey, Magisterium. Well, there's no YouTube warning because I only put the thing up about 20 minutes before I went live on this. And the only reason I did any warning at all is because I wanted to test the auto start function for the live stream. All right, let's see where my mic pre level is now. Now, I've got the same stuff on this that I had on the electric, but there is no real EQ being added. All right, to get a pretty good level out of the acoustic, looks like I need to have the mic pre. My mic is cutting out. My mic will cut out when... Oh, I bet I know what's going on there. Let's see something here. Well, yeah, the mic will cut out when I... Oh, that's weird. When I speak, it's cutting out. Oh, wow. I know what's going on. Before, Lyle, this is why I like to test these things most of which I've done privately. Now I'm doing it in public. All right, it's gonna be fine now. The Royer is what triggers to turn off this mic, and so I had the gate on, which made sense when it was over there on the guitar amp. Now that the mic is close to me, it was picking my voice up and turning this off. Duh. So I've turned off the gate, and what I'll do to test this is I'm going to turn off this and let this get the sound of the guitar, and it should pick up my voice just fine, even if the level is going to drop off. So let me press my mic mute button. You guys should still be able to hear my voice through this, and should hear the guitar pretty well. Let's see what the levels are like. Am I really hitting 3.4 deep clipping? I don't think so. Let's disarm this mic. Am I still getting that? How does that sound out there? I'm getting good, great, and guitar could be louder. I'm 2 dB. Looks like I'm 2 dB down on the guitar. So I'm going to bring the fader up on the guitar. Get that extra. I'm good at 1.7. How's that? Well, now you can hear the voice. The issue is I don't know how these two are going to sound together if I play. So you want that one, your nickel? Forgot the walk down. Yeah, that's the Royer and the 57, and that's a thing. Let me see if I turn off the 57. How much does the Royer sound change? Because you're not gonna have both of them in potential phase issues. That's just the Royer has no EQ on it, so you're saying it needs to have highs. When I listen back, some people are saying it's sounding better with 57 on as well. Some people are saying it sounds better with just the Royer. I'm gonna have to listen back to it and see, because I can set up a profile for the Royer with some EQ if necessary. But if I do this without the Royer and just the SM57, which has a low cut of like 94 dB, you're going to lose a lot of lows from this, and it's much more distant. So that's what you guys have heard most of the streams. Of course, last time I was really awful, and I had this plug-in in which you guys heard this, which was not so good. You guys thought it sounded more balanced with just the 57 over here. That's interesting. I have not heard what the Royer is hearing yet. I mean, I could, without hearing it, I don't want to get in there and just start EQing it. I could kill you guys with that. Yeah, Robert, I assumed you were either having a stroke or your cat was wanting to get in on the chat. I know people have different tastes in these things. So here's the Royer again, and if I get a little bit closer to the Royer, it'll get a little more high end, you know. I didn't do the low string because I didn't want to drop tune it for that. So I'm going to have to listen to this section back. I may need to pick up a different mic for this purpose. Even one of my other 57s would probably work pretty well. But it's awfully nice if I can just move this Royer that's already on a stand from there to here and make this work for a live stream. But it may be when I listen back that I find this is fine. Yeah, well, the closeness to the guitar is part of it, but the thing is, I would not want to do this as all the time, because the compression and the EQ on the voice is not what this guitar needs. That 600 hertz I took out for my voice is a big part of this guitar's character. This guitar has interesting things happening at 80 hertz, whereas I sound like whoa, 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 whoa at 80 hertz. No, I'm not going to put a K&K Pure Mini in the guitar. I have a Baggs dual source in here that 25 years ago was the Shiznit, and it's in there, and I'm not going to do all that. And all of them, all pickup systems, sound terrible in comparison to a good microphone. And I'm interested to know. I'm just curious about one thing. I'm going to do one thing on this Royer. I'm going to the guitar, and I'm going to go into the Shep 73, and I'm going to do the Beatles trick. I'm going to go turn the high boost on, which is about 10K. It's just a shelf. And I'm going to give a 3 dB shelf and not touch the mids or the lows. I'm going to get close, and let's see, what's a good... How's that sound? Does that take care of the brightness issue with this guitar? So I will listen back to this and then do some more tests. I may come up with what I'll probably do, I'm going to turn that high frequency off on the EQ that's set for electric guitar. And Magisterium says it sounds a bit boomy. So I will just make a different plug-in option preset on the same channel. I can say acoustic or electric, whichever one I have active. I just have to remember in the future which is which. And here's, of course, both of them, which could be a bit weird. A bit boomy. Okay, well, I'll just angle the guitar, and that'll go away. I don't have the dragon pants to do the kick. Let me turn off the Royer now. So I'll be interested to hear this back and see what things are sounding like. Let me move the guitar and the expensive mic out of my way so I don't spill coffee on it. Sounds like it has no low E and A string. Okay, well, some people are saying it's boomy. Some people, and then Sebastian says it has no low E and A string. I suspect that might be what you're listening to, Sebastian. What are you listening to, Sebastian? When I listen back to this, I will check on my phone because that's how most people hear this. But I'm also going to check on my studio monitors. That's the thing, Sebastian. You say it's had no low end. Others are like it's boomy. I will listen back and be the judge of that. Laptops doesn't have lows, but it may. And I'm not saying that what I just gave you was optimal because I've not heard that back yet. But the low end on that guitar is really quite big, and not as big as. A Rosewood Dread will always have more lows. But like I said, right there, that was 57 with the 650 hertz-ish scooped a bit, and everything below 90-something dB dropped down. The Royer was flat, didn't have anything exciting happening to it, except for that one little bit where I added 3 dB at 10K, which is, the Beatles range. That's what the old red desks had, but I would probably choose a different frequency if I was using a parametric. What speakers or monitors do I use for daily listening? I have the Yamaha HS7s, or H7s, whatever they're called. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing, hey, Derek, Colby Jack, I'm looking forward to listening back. I imagine that what you're saying is pretty close. I'm wondering if that Royer is just too dark without that EQ help. But the nice thing about the Royer and ribbon mics in general is that they do take EQ very well. And even though it was a 10K shelf, which is, kind of brutal, it was only 3 dB. So I've got much more sophisticated options for EQ in my Logic setup. It's not just the stock stuff. I've got a whole bunch of waves and other really groovy plugins, though I try to use as few of those as possible. Like this is, I'm worried about live here, for live, communicating to you guys live where I cannot do anything in post because there's no post. It's all in pre. But don't bump. But when I do the actual videos, so if I'm saying, hey, I'm working on the 63 whatever, and here's what it sounds like in the room, it's that Royer going through the M2, and then I will make sure, I can get the max playback level without clipping on YouTube. But I'm not saying, all right, now I'm going to do this plugin and this plugin and this. I'm not adding a whole bunch of stuff. There's no EQ used. There's limiting used just because of the nature of digital playback systems. If I have to use compression, I'm talking about 3 to 1, where the peaks, at hardest playing, you're losing about 3 dB and a makeup gain of that 3 dB, which just brings, like I said, if these are the transients, right under digital zero, and here are the midpoints, that just brings the midpoints up closer so that the overall thing here is louder versus where it would be if the transients aren't brought down. So it's a lot to consider. But when I'm doing a full produced video for you guys, where I've edited everything, and here's what the amp sounds like. That's really what the amp sounds like. And the Royer on a guitar speaker is very close to how our ears hear. I'm not sure how that Royer is going to sound on the acoustic yet. Let's try one thing though before we end this for the day. I was basing my premise of other side of ribbon mic based on other ribbon mics I've used, including the R121. I have not tried that trick on this R10, which may be different. Maybe only the one side is truly magical. So let's try the side I normally use, which has usually a pretty balanced sound. We're going to do that without EQ. But I will turn off the low cut, the high pass filter in the Sheps thing. So again, aiming pretty much at the body junction. Forgive the mistakes and the sloppiness. See, now it sounds muted and flat, or gold trophy, or too bright. So I'm gonna have to listen back to this. And remember, all these things can be tweaked. I mean, I can do the high thing. Let's give a big boost at 10K and a pretty substantial boost at 100 hertz. This is the home stereo version. Stereo version is dark. That's with 3 dB at 10K. Huh. Interesting. Well, I'm not worried about this because I'm gonna hear it back and I'll do some playing around with it after the fact. Let's get that flattened out. It's such an interesting thing to me how everyone's playback system is different. I know what Derek's listening to is generally going to be pretty much trustworthy. Flubby would be that low boost I did, which I would not normally ever do on this. But all right, for last thing we do, I'm going to pan this mic hard to one side, pan the Royer hard to the other side, and just do this. Let's I can play that. I just chose not to. I was doing the John version. So I really should have grabbed the other guitar. Maybe a little less gain. Yeah, I was clipping there. I can see that. But that's part of the fun of just doing it like this. Kind of impromptu. When I listen back, I'll be able to hear what you guys were hearing. and I'll have a pretty good idea of a starting point, whether I even want to use the Royer or whether I want to get another. What is that thing called? SE8, which is what I use for the small diaphragm on the bench. It's been great for me. It's like $230. Fantastic. Because I know from past experience, if I had a small diaphragm condenser right here, I would have no issues at all with gain, because I've had the Royers gain at 3 o'clock on the pre, which is like really crazy high. And then, I know another small diaphragm condenser would do me a good job, and I just don't want to move that one back and forth because that's on a specialized mount. Or maybe I'll just grab that 57 that's right there and plug it in and angle it here, and we'll just do stereo 57s. The SM57 is such an overlooked gem, and people always compliment me on the sound of my voice, and they ask if it's what expensive mic it is. It's a $75 SM57 with a $20 shock mount and a $10 screen, and 30 years of tweaking with mics, so that someone earlier asked, I don't remember, I saw it fly by, asked if this was a recording podcast, help session. And yeah, the recording side of things is a big part of all this. So the sound of Lyle's voices from cigars and steroids. So maybe I'll play out some Tom Waits. Got to get the Tom Waits tuning tune. The music plays. And I thank you all for being here today. I'm having another stout. All right, guys. Thank you. I got a lot to listen back to see where I'm actually at, and I appreciate you all for being here and giving me the feedback. And I guarantee you that if I go to a dedicated mic for when I use an acoustic on here, I'll get this sorted out. When I listen back, I might be like, you know what? This, even with the wrong EQ and the wrong compression, is just better than what you get on most live streams anyway for acoustics. So can't get the sound of that Gibson out of my head. It's something special. Well, it is. I love that guitar very much, and you'll get a chance to hear and see more of it in coming videos. But anyway, this has been enough. I've got to go back and listen to like all this 5 times and really hear what I'm hearing. Should have just ended on the nice Tom Waits goodbye. See ya.